Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Heather and today we are doing a library reading vlog. I mean, that's all we do over here now, it's pretty much vlogs. So, went to the library this past weekend and I ended up checking out these 4 books. So I'm just going to read them because they are due on the 15th. I don't even know what today's date is, but I know I got a week to read these. First book I checked out was The Push. I've heard nothing but really good things about this, but I've also heard some things where people who read thrillers all the time didn't really like this book all that much, but I wanted to see what all the fuss was about. So decided to pick this up and we'll see how that goes. Then I also picked up The Killing Lessons, which is just like right up my alley. I'm assuming it's a book about serial killers or some sort of killing or something like that, because you know it says it right there in the title. And then I picked up The Drowning Deep, or Into the Drowning Deep. I've heard nothing but really good things about this. I think this is about mermaids maybe, or like sirens or something like that. Super excited about it. And then I picked up Savvy Sheldon, Feels Good as Hell. I needed a contemporary romance that was in the mix with all of these other heavy books. I have never heard of this book before, but I'm very excited to read it and see what it's all about. So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing. And I'm going to be reading these books and I'm going to take you along for the rest of the week. It's Easter this weekend, so you'll probably get to see a little bit of Easter time. But anyways, these are the 4 books that we're reading in this specific video. I have until the 15th to read them, so a little over a week to read these books, and I'm going to take you along with me. I am 50% into this book, Into the Drowning Deep, and I am really enjoying it. I decided to go ahead and do the audiobook for this one, and I'm reading it as I listen. And y'all, this book is creeping me out. I'm also really loving all the science that's going on in this. If you don't know, I am a water baby. I love boats, I love water, I love learning about the ocean, and this book has taken me on an entire journey, and mermaids are terrifying. And things in the ocean that haven't been discovered are terrifying, and it just makes me so interested in getting to read this author's perspective of all of this. It also took me into like a 4-hour deep dive into the internet last night, reading about this trench, the Mariana Trench, and how it is so understudied because of the things that are there, and just like the different creatures that live in this trench and all that kind of stuff. And I'm really enjoying the suspense of this book too. I know that not a lot of people think that this is very suspenseful because there is so much science that's thrown into it, and it is taking a little bit longer, but in these type of stories I really like a slower paced book so I can really understand what everyone is talking about. And I'm just like, these people went out on this boat knowing that they could potentially not come back, okay? Because science is like driving them. Some of the people that are on this boat are going because they want to avenge their friends and their family that died some years earlier, 7 years earlier. One of our main characters, Tori, her sister was actually on the boat, or on the ship that captured the mermaid footage, and her sister ended up dying, so to speak, because her body was never found. The ship caught mermaids attacking the crew members and all that kind of stuff, and they were never seen again. So she wants to figure out what happened to her sister, knowing that she already knows that she was basically killed by mermaids. But I do think that there's going to be a twist in here. I'm conspiring it in my head right now. I think there's going to be a twist in here. I don't know what the twist is yet. I have a feeling of what it's going to be, and I hope that I'm right so I can like be like, yes, I was right. But anyways, I'm really enjoying the story and I'm glad that I finally picked it up. The audiobook is really good too. The narrator does all these different accents, and I'm loving it, okay? Loving it. There's a lot of representation in here of people who have disabilities, people in the LGBTQA+ community, and also just like, you know, people who are still grieving after years of their family and their friends dying. And if you've never lost somebody, or if you have lost somebody, you know what that feels like, and you want to figure out what happened to them, especially if their death was sudden and you weren't expecting it. So enjoying it. I'm gonna continue reading. Watching softball today. We're also gonna be dyeing some Easter eggs tonight, so you'll get some footage of that. Tomorrow is Easter, and again, I'm just gonna keep on reading because I'm enjoying this book a lot.
I love tablets. Hey.
You gotta let it do its thing.
Yep, put it in there. Good job.
Wow. They're so pretty.
They are pretty.
I can easily hold them. And there's nothing on my hands.
Correct. So, finished this book. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. It was brutal. There was a lot of really good storytelling. There was a lot of really good science in here, and I really enjoyed just learning about everybody's different takes on what mermaids were. Plus, I also liked pretty much all the characters. Like, there wasn't really a character that I disliked in this book. I'm sorry, you're crooked. There wasn't really a character that I disliked in this book at all, and that rarely happens. But all of these characters had their own agendas as to why they wanted to go look for mermaids. Some were just scientists that wanted to go study this piece of ocean that not many people have been in, whereas others like Tori and what's her name? Her name is Julian. I can't remember. Dr. Lloyd, maybe? Yeah, anyways. She has her own agenda with the mermaids because of something that happened in the past. And then we have twins who are also deaf. And they're scientists. They have their own agenda. So everybody has their own agenda in here. And when people start dying off, of course, people who are in the science field are like, oh my god, yes, this is like great for our study, right? So it's kind of morbid in that way too, where you have people actually dying and people aren't really caring that people are dying because it's for their profession, so they can make a name for themselves in their profession and continue their studies and everything. So it's just a really different take, and I liked the mermaid aspect. I wanted more of the mermaid aspect. We had it going at the very end and then it just stopped, and I was like, what I really wanted it. So 4.5 out of 5 stars, just because the ending let me down a little bit. But this is a solid read if you are looking for a horror book that has a lot of diversity within the characters and within the subject matter itself. This is a really good pick. I enjoyed it. I plan on reading more from this author. I didn't even realize that this was the author that wrote the Wayward Children series, I believe. Shannon McGuire. I didn't even realize that this was the same author. So very pleasant surprise. I have not read that series yet, but now that I know that it's the same author, I might pick those up because that was a really good book. So now I'm switching lanes. Still dark. This is called The Killing Lessons. It's a detective story, so I know that a lot of people don't really like detective stories, but I like detective stories. I just like the whole police investigation and background and how everything ties together like a big puzzle. I really like that. But this is about a woman named Rowan, and she and her 2 kids live in an isolated cabin, and then they have 2 people that break into their home, and I think that she is just trying to survive. And I know that a detective pops in at some point too, but I didn't get very far. I just downloaded the audiobook for it because I am going to be putting together my baby's Easter egg basket. We already dyed Easter eggs. It was a whole thing. Like, dyeing Easter eggs with a 4-year-old is wild, to say the least, but he enjoyed it. And we also got this service where one of our local schools egged our yard, so he's gonna wake up to eggs in our yard in the morning. So I'm excited about that. So I'm gonna listen to the audiobook of The Killing Lessons on here. I don't know if you can see it. You can probably see it like right there. I'm gonna listen to it on here while I fill my baby's basket, and then I'll show you the end result. It is Easter Sunday and I am halfway through the killing lessons and I am very, very much intrigued. It took a little bit of time for the story to like start ramping up, but now it is going full force. You are following multiple different characters in here. You are following Nell, who is the daughter of the woman. Her name is Rowena. And two men came into her house and attacked her and her family. Nell was able to get away, and she ran into this old guy that was living in a cabin, and they're together. So that's one scene. That's one scene over here. Then another scene is of the two killers, and we already know who they are, but we're also following Valerie Hart, who is the detective on the case. And these two killers are serial killers. They're up to 8 victims, and they have their 9th right now. So she is investigating them. We're finding information out about the killers themselves. We're finding out about Valerie's past too. She has very tumultuous past. We're finding out about how Nell is holding up. And there's just a lot of things going on in this book. There's a lot of characters, but the way that it is written, it's really easy to follow for me. I also really like the narrator for this audiobook. They're doing a really good job of keeping everything in order and staying with the narrative of the different characters by changing their voice and all that kind of stuff. So I really like that aspect. It's a brutal book. This is not an easy thriller to get through. It's not holding off on any kind of descriptions whatsoever of how the bodies of the women are found, or how people are at the moment. There are just descriptions in here that make me just like, you know. But I really like this. I really like this book, and I'm planning on buying my own copy of this book because, as you know, this is a library edition. So I am liking it. And it's also super fast paced too. The chapters are really short, and it's almost choppy in a way, but each chapter you're following the different characters in the book. So I'm really enjoying it, and I want to know so much as to why these two people are doing what they're doing to all these women. And I think I know why, but we're going to continue reading it. So wanted to fill you in and let you know I'm halfway through this. Today is Sunday. It's Easter. I'm sure you've already seen all the Easter fun that we had. And yeah, so enjoying it. If you haven't read this and you like detective thrillers, I think you should pick it up because it's really good so far. Hopefully it stays good. Hello, it's Monday, and finished this book this morning. So I don't know how I'm gonna rate this book because I think I'm gonna give it a 3.75. Not saying that this book was not good, because it was actually really good, but there is just some outdated language in this book. Besides that fact, I did enjoy this story for the fact of it made me think, and you really get to see inside both of the serial killers' minds. You also get to see inside of the victims' minds. You also get to see inside of Nell's. She is the child of the mom who was murdered, as well as her brother at the very beginning of the story. So there are just a lot of things that happen in this book, and it really makes you think. The author did do a really, really good job of deep diving into people's psyche and how these types of crimes, murdering people for no reason at all, just because there is something going on in the brain that's just not right, because one of the serial killers does have something going on with him from his childhood. The other one's just along for the ride because he's sick. He's a sick individual. Like, gross, you know? But I enjoyed that aspect of it. That's one reason why I really like detective thrillers like this, because you get to see the psychology behind serial killers, plus the psychology behind everyone else that's in the actual book, like all the other characters, the detectives, the victims, all those. So I really enjoyed it. 3.75 stars, just because like I said, some of the language didn't live up to what's acceptable now. This was written in 2015. So I don't know. There's just something like that. I am going to finish with I'm going to finish the rest of the series. There's 2 other books in this series, and I had to hear that they're really, really good too. But yeah, 3.75 stars. I will round it up to 4 stars on Goodreads. That's just because what I do. If it's a 3.5 or a 0.5 or above, it just goes to the next rating. But it will be a 3.75 on Storygraph. But now, after reading that book, I'm going to hop into The Push. I've heard so-so things about this. I've heard that it was people's best, like, favorite book of 2022, and then I also heard people say that it was the worst book of 2022 that they read. So we shall see how I feel, but I'll check in with you after that. All right, let's talk about this book. So I'm halfway through this, and I don't really know how I feel about it, honestly. This book is exploring motherhood and exploring relationships that you have with your kids, and how some mothers don't have that connection with their child at the beginning, and they see signs that their child might have something wrong with them. And it also explores marriage when one parent sees something that's happening with their child, but the other parent doesn't want to see that. And Blythe, or whatever her name is, she didn't connect with her daughter when she was born, and her husband did end up connecting with their daughter. And Blythe sees all of these signs that something's wrong with her daughter, but her husband refuses to see them. And at some points in the book, I'm not sure if these things are actually happening, or if Blythe is coming up with these things in her head, or if the daughter is actually just doing them, and she knows that her mom is having some issues, because Blythe's childhood is not good. And in this book, was not good. And in this book, you do see Blythe's relationship with her own mom and her own father, and you also see her mom's relationship with Blythe's grandmother too. And evidently in this family there are some mental illnesses that run in the family with the women, and I do believe that Blythe was going through very severe postpartum as well, and being a stay-at-home mom and not having a lot of help during the day, that kind of made a wedge in between her and her daughter's relationship. She feels like her daughter just absolutely hates her, but you see the relationship as Violet gets older as well. Violet is their daughter. But you see the relationship as Violet gets older as well, and there might be something wrong with her, but it's kind of hard to tell if Violet is actually doing the things that Blythe is saying that she's doing. But then Blythe and her husband have a son named Sam, and then Blythe finally feels that love that you have for your children, and she is completely in love with Sam, and something happens to Sam, and it basically destroys the family. And yeah, so it's a deep dive into motherhood and being a mom myself. It's been a pretty intense read, because just some of the things that have happened in this book have made me want to cry, just because if it happened to my own baby, like if it happened to my own child, I don't know what I would do. But I get why people really like this book. Like, I get it. But I also am looking at it from a mom and a wife standpoint. The fascination with this book, like, I'm only halfway through it, but the fascination with this book is a little weird to me. Being a mom and a wife, and seeing the things that are happening in this book, and knowing that their marriage isn't that great. Anyways, I'm halfway through it. I'm going to continue reading it. And yeah, I'll fill you in when I get done. Dating you on this, I ended up finishing it, and I'm giving it a 2.75. I did not hate this book by any means. I feel like this book was trying to do too much. If it needed to go one route or the other, and it just did a lot. I understand why everyone loves this book so much. I really do. I get it. But there are just some things in here that I was like, come on now. So this book is about, I think I've already told you about what it is, but anyways, Blythe has a daughter named Violet. They don't connect. Blythe thinks that her daughter is evil. There are things that are going on that you don't know if they're actually going on, which this is my brain talking. I didn't know if they were actually going on or if it was just like Blythe's insecurity maybe, or Blythe's going through postpartum. She also has childhood trauma, and all the women in her family have never really been good mothers, and I didn't know if she was just so hyper focused on being a good mom that she was pulling out the negatives and everything. I did get the hint that her husband was not a very supportive husband, and you could tell that Violet was just going through a lot of postpartum and she was having to deal with a lot of trauma, and she didn't seek help. She didn't really get the help that she needed. She's a stay-at-home mom. So if you're a stay-at-home mom, or if you have a baby, or if your spouse goes to work, or your partner, whoever goes to work and leaves you at home with a baby constantly, you're nursing, you're tired, all these different factors are adding up, and at some point, there's some times where, you know, you might not like your child, which is completely normal, but she feels crazy. And the author did a really good job about all the emotions. I felt all the emotions. Some points in the book I had to just like walk away from it because it got me emotional. But like I said, there's just too much going on in here. It needed to stick with the evil child thing. If it was going to be an evil child thing, it needed to stick with that. If it's talking about the postpartum thing, it needed to stick with that. If it's talking about family trauma, it needed to stick with that. There was just all these different obstacles going on, and it was literally a whiplash session for me. And I was just tired after the end of it. I was just tired. I felt like I had a newborn all over again reading this book. And it was irritating. Fox, who is Violet's dad, Blythe's husband, is not a good husband. He's not supportive. He does something in here. You could see it from a mile away, but Blythe was in denial. I was just, I don't know. Like, I felt for Blythe, I really did. And I understand why people love this book, but to me, it was a lot to take in. Especially going through everything that Blythe has been through with being pregnant, being very excited about being pregnant, having the baby, not feeling that instant connection. I never thought that my child was evil in any way. I love my child to death. Like, I look at him and I just like, you know, I just want to kiss him all over. But there is that talk where she's scared to tell people that she doesn't like her kid. And when she tries to talk to her husband about it, he just waves her off and says that she's just emotional and she's just going through the emotions, that there's nothing wrong with their kid, when you can clearly tell that there's something wrong with the kid. Like, we can tell that there's something wrong, but the dad was in denial, and that was just, I just wanted to shake him. Anyways, 2.75 stars. Not a horrible book. If you were getting into the thriller world, the psychological drama, whatever, I wouldn't say that this was a thriller by any means. It's more of a drama, family drama. Read it. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that absolutely love it. But for me, too much stuff going on at once. And it was more, like I said, it was more of a family drama than it was a thriller to me. And I'm glad that people totally enjoy this book. Glad that they do. It's a solid book. It's just not my cup of tea. But moving on to something that I think that I'm gonna like a lot is this book right here. I'm already enjoying it. I'm already enjoying the friend group. I'm already enjoying Savvy. She's already been through a breakup with her boyfriend, who is a complete douchebag, and I'm glad that she's away from him. There's this dude right here and his dog. Every time Savvy goes outside, he just like pops up randomly and he's walking his dog, and he's dressed in tattered clothes, and she believes that he's homeless. But you can also tell that Savvy is super close with her family. We've met her mom and we met her uncle, and she talks about her brothers a lot too. She also has a super close friend group, and they are funny. Like, I was giggling at some of the stuff, and I just like their dynamic. I like Savvy as a woman. She is very driven in her career, and she is very confident. She's very strong. She's just, I am here and whoop whoop, you know. She's just that type of person, and I love that. And it's a good switch from the books that I have been reading lately, because I've been reading a lot of dark stuff, and I needed something good and light, okay? And I just needed something like this, and I think I'm gonna end up really enjoying it. I love the tone that the author has set so far, and yeah. We all hate Jason, though. We all hate Jason. Good morning. It is a beautiful Saturday morning, and I just wanted to let you know that I finished this book last night and this morning. I stayed up late and read the rest of this book. Ended up giving it a 3.5 stars. I believe that this book is a little bit mismarketed. It's been marketed as a rom-com, but I think it is more geared towards the women's fiction. The whole point of the story is that Savvy has gone through a really bad breakup, and the man that she was with, or if you want to call him that, the guy that she was with, his name is Jason, and he was just really bad to her. He talked down to her all the time. He talked about the way that she looked all the time, her insecurities. He played on those. Basically told her that she was never going to be good enough for anyone else, and then they broke up because he told her that he wanted an upgrade because she had gained weight, she was too career driven, and that he needed somebody that was going to be a little bit more focused on him rather than themselves, which we don't do that around here, Jason, so good riddance to you. So she made up a plan, and she was going to get this revenge body. She was going to get back in shape. She was going to take more time for herself, get that big promotion that she was wanting and all that kind of stuff, and she did it. She went out and she did it, and the way that she did it was very inspiring. But I think that this is more of women's fiction, because she's learning to love herself. She's learning to look at herself and feel good about herself and just get that confidence back that she had a long time ago before this Jason dude. And she has a super good support system. Her friends are awesome. Her family is awesome, and they just want her to be happy, and they want her to see herself how they see her. And it was just a really good time. And then you get this dude named Spencer. At first she thinks that he's homeless because he's wearing these dirty clothes and these tattered pants and old work boots and stuff like that, and he's walking his dog, and his dog's name is Teddy. But he actually is a contractor. So they meet and they start to form feelings, and that's where the romance comes in. But every time we would get a scene with them, it would be cut short. Like, we would never get, I felt a little, I didn't feel that I could see that they liked each other, but I just couldn't feel that connection, because every time they would get together, either something would happen or it would just get cut short and the scene would be over, and it would be going back to Savvy and Savvy playing tennis, Savvy cooking, something like that. But that's not a bad thing. It's just, I was expecting like a romance, like romance, you know? When I hear a rom-com, I'm thinking funny, sexy, them exploring each other and all that kind of stuff. But it was more of Savvy exploring herself, and that's not a bad thing by any means, because Savvy was a really good character and I really enjoyed her. But there was just something lacking for me in the romance department, which is why I'm giving it a 3.5 instead of a 4, because it's more of a woman's fiction book than it is anything. But if you're looking for a super slow burn romance, but you do get some sexy scenes, and you are needing to feel inspired, or you want to read a book about a woman being inspired to find themselves and love themselves, I would recommend this book to you. And Teddy stole the show. Teddy is the chocolate lab. He stole the show. Like, everyone loved him. I loved him. I wanted to pet him, you know? But anyways, it wasn't a bad book by any means, but it was just marketed wrong, which is sad. But pick it up if you are interested in this book and you want to read it. But I'm going to end this vlog here. Today is the day where I have to go return all of these library books back. So I might do another video like this where I just do a library haul and I read them with you as before they are all due, you know. But 3.5 stars. I think this was a 3.25. Maybe it was a 3. I don't remember. This one was a 2.75. And then this one was the highest one, and it was a 4.25. So I think I got all those right. I don't remember. Anyways, you have already seen me rate them. I just can't remember the numbers off the top of my head. But hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure you hit the subscribe button before you go, and I will see you on the next one. Bye. Ugh, I kissed you.